You're born a black man, dipped in melanin like it's a golden ticket. Except the prize isn't riches, it's inherited trauma, suspicious eyes, and a lifetime membership to the Don't Move Too Fast club. People clutch their purses like you're armed with a Gucci machete. There's no instruction manual for this life, just a history book soaked in blood and denial. You learn early that childhood is optional. 6 years old, and someone's already calling you aggressive for raising your hand too passionately. By 10, you're a handful, while the white kid flipping a desk is spirited. You're the problem, even when you're just existing. Cops don't protect you, they patrol you. Sirens aren't safety, they're a warning label. Getting pulled over isn't an inconvenience, it's a near death meditation. You keep your hands visible, your voice steady, your breathing polite. You're auditioning for the role of non threatening civilian number one, and still, it might not save you. You learn quick that black excellence isn't ambition, it's armor. Average isn't allowed. Mediocrity is a luxury you can't afford. You run faster, smile bigger, speak cleaner, because one slip and suddenly you're threatening, ghetto, or intimidating. Mess up once, and congratulations. You've become a walking stereotype. You walk into a store and transform into a suspect on sight. You walk out, and someone's double checking the floor tiles. Say something intelligent, and people act like you solved quantum physics. Wow, you're so articulate. Thanks. Should I bow now, or do I get a cookie with that condescension? Work feels like a tightrope over lava. You code switch like your rent depends on it. Because it does. Talk too casually and you're unprofessional. Too firm? Aggressive. Show up with your natural hair and it's suddenly a distraction. So you curate yourself like a museum exhibit with Wi Fi. Now featuring our friendly neighborhood black man. Money doesn't buy freedom when the price tag comes with fine print. You finally make some, and people act like you've escaped the system, as if generational wealth and generational trauma cancel each other out on a spreadsheet. You're told, just work hard, like hard work ever stopped redlining or wage gaps. Like you can outhustle a history built to keep you tired. You grind twice as hard to earn half the benefit. And when you finally get a taste of success, someone calls it diversity hiring. You get the house, the car, the degree, and suddenly people forget how uneven the starting line was. They see your wins, not the invisible tax, the extra energy it takes to smile through suspicion, to be the safe version of yourself so you don't lose what you built. Every dollar feels like it came with a disclaimer. Congratulations, but don't forget where you came from. The wealth gap isn't just about numbers, it's about inheritance. Some families pass down property, yours passes down warnings. They get trust funds, you get trust issues. Their granddad left them land. Yours left a survival guide. And when you do succeed, people suddenly treat you like a symbol, not a person. You're inspiring, exceptional, proof that anyone can make it. They hold you up like a trophy to deny the system you had to outrun. Because if you made it, that means racism must be solved, right? No, it just means you figured out how to swim while handcuffed. Try talking about money in your community, and it's complicated. You want to invest, but where? Banks that still deny your uncle's loan, developers who bulldozed your grandma's block. You want to build wealth, but gentrification means your old neighborhood can't afford your success story. You realize success doesn't protect you, it just changes the scenery. The security guard at the luxury store still follows you. The cop still runs your plates. The system doesn't care what's in your wallet, just what's in your skin. They told you money can't buy happiness. They forgot to mention it can't buy safety either. On screen, your choices are thug, sidekick, or tragedy. Survive 15 minutes in a horror movie and it's called representation. The moment a show dares to portray black people just existing, critics call it too urban. Because apparently, dragons are relatable. But your reality, too specific. Everyone loves black culture, just not black people. They'll borrow your rhythm, slang, and swagger, sell it back to you at Urban Outfitters, then call your pain divisive. You speak up about racism, and suddenly you're too political. You share your reality, and they ask, why make everything about race? Maybe because everything already is? Dating? That's its own horror anthology. I've never been with a black guy before, they whisper, like you're an exotic experiment. You're not like other black men, they say. Translation: You fit my prejudice just enough to make me comfortable. Congratulations, you're now a fetish wrapped in melanin. You're always too black, or not black enough. There's no winning dosage. Too polished, sellout. Too raw, angry. You can't just be, you have to balance identity like it's a chemistry experiment. And God forbid you mention racism. Suddenly Karen's colorblind. I don't see color, she says. Cool. Neither did the hiring manager, apparently. The system sees it, though. Job apps, loan forms, jury boxes, dating profiles. They all see it crystal clear. Saying, I don't see color doesn't make you progressive. It makes you part of the problem. School teaches you slavery like it was a weekend inconvenience. MLK gets reduced to a soundbite, Rosa Parks becomes the lady who wanted to sit, and rebellion gets rewritten as politeness. They skip redlining, COINTELPRO, mass incarceration, the whole systemic demolition project. You don't get history, you get propaganda with extra sugar. Even your neighborhood breathes injustice. Factories and landfills line your block like toxic wallpaper. Asthma isn't genetic, it's environmental warfare. If this were a suburb, they'd call it a national emergency. Here, it's just the hood. You're told to forgive before the blood dries. A celebrity says the N-word and the world asks you to be graceful. A cop kills a man on camera, and people tell you to stay peaceful. March quietly? You're not doing enough. March loudly? You're doing too much. Riot? See, this is why we can't take you seriously. Meanwhile, white kids set couches on fire after football games. School spirit. Even joy gets policed. Laugh too loud, threatening. Dress too bright. Hood. Celebrate your culture. Reverse racism. You dance and they copy. You protest and they demonize. You succeed and it's affirmative action. You fail and it's expected. Therapy? That's a luxury and a scavenger hunt. Find one who actually gets it and guard them like they're made of platinum. Most will say, try not to think about race. That's like telling a fish to ignore the ocean. They don't understand that your trauma isn't a single wound. It's a lifetime of paper cuts that never heal. Even in death, the system spins the story. Your mugshot gets airtime, your killer gets a graduation photo. Justice isn't blind. It's biased, tired, and somehow always investigating. And when it fails you, people shrug like equality was a suggestion. You're told to be grateful for surviving what you shouldn't have had to. You're told racism is in the past while it's mugging your present. You're told not all white people, as if that erases the system that benefits them anyway. And yet, despite it all, you laugh, you love, you build, you turn pain into rhythm, trauma into art, exhaustion into excellence. You exist like defiance itself. Because being a black man in this world, it's not weakness, it's power wearing scars.
You're born into melanin like it's a lottery prize. Except the only thing you win is generational trauma, suspicious glances, and a lifetime supply of people clutching their purses, like you're holding a machete made of stolen sneakers. You don't get a manual, you get history, heavy, bloody, and constantly denied. You grow up fast, not because you want to, but because the world insists you do. You're 6 years old and someone already calls you aggressive for raising your hand too enthusiastically. You're 10 and teachers describe you as a handful when you're just bored. Meanwhile, your white classmate throws a desk and gets labeled energetic. You're a problem. You learn early that black excellence isn't optional, it's survival. You can't be average. You have to be exceptional just to be treated as human. You run faster, speak clearer, smile wider, because anything less, and people start using words like threatening, or ghetto, or intimidating. And if you mess up, congratulations, you just confirmed every stereotype in the book. People don't see you. You walk into a store, and suddenly you're the unofficial suspect. You walk out, and someone's watching to make sure you didn't steal the floor tiles. You say something smart, and people act like you're the CEO of NASA. Wow, you're articulate. Do you want a cookie, or just basic respect? Police don't protect you. They patrol you. Sirens aren't a sign of safety, they're a warning. You get pulled over and your heart rate doesn't rise, it skyrockets. Not because you were speeding, but because you exist. You keep your hands visible, your tone polite. your movements slow, as if you're auditioning for the role of harmless civilian number one. And even then, it might not be enough. Everyone loves black culture until it comes with black people. They want your music, your slang, your style, your dance moves, your entire aesthetic, stripped of context and sold in bulk at Urban Outfitters. But when you speak up about racism, suddenly you're too political. When you talk about your experience, why does everything have to be about race? Maybe because everything is. Dating? Oh, it's a carnival. You get people who say, I've never been with a black person before, like you're an exotic Pokemon. Others treat your existence like a fetish or an experiment. I just love your skin tone. You must be so athletic. You're not like other black people. Thanks, you racist discount romance novel. Representation. You grow up watching TV where your only options are thugs, sidekicks, and trauma flashbacks. If a black character survives more than 15 minutes in a horror movie, it's considered a plot twist. When you finally get a show or movie that shows black people just existing, critics call it niche or too urban, because apparently white teenagers battling dragons is relatable, but your actual life is too specific. Work is a circus. You have to code switch like your paycheck depends on it, because it does. You monitor every syllable like it's being graded by HR. Speak too casually, and you're unprofessional. Speak too assertively, and you're hostile. Wear your natural hair, and suddenly it's distracting. You spend your life curating an acceptable version of yourself, like a museum exhibit with Wi Fi. You're either not black enough or too black, depending on the audience. Like there's a correct dosage of your identity. Too polished, you're accused of selling out. Too raw, you're angry. You can't just be black. You have to be the right kind of black, as determined by people who still confuse cornrows with a political statement. You mention racism, and people respond like you've accused them personally. I don't see color, they say. Congrats on your visual impairment, Karen, but I do. The world certainly does. Job applications see it, loan officers see it, judges and juries and real estate agents and dating apps all definitely see it. Saying I don't see color doesn't make you woke. It makes you useless in a system built on seeing it. The education system gives you slavery in February, MLK in bullet points, and Rosa Parks as the lady who just wanted to sit. No mention of resistance, rage, or radicalism. Just sanitized history served with a side of lies. They skip over redlining, COINTELPRO, the prison pipeline, and every government program designed to ruin your neighborhood while blaming you for the debris. You don't even get clean air without a fight. Your neighborhood ends up next to landfills, power plants, or highways because zoning boards treat black lives like they're disposable. You grow up breathing toxins, drinking questionable water, and wondering why asthma runs in the family like a curse. And when you speak up, they call it complaining. But if this happened in a suburb, it'd be a national emergency. You're expected to forgive instantly. A celebrity says the N word, and suddenly everyone's wondering if you can let it go. A cop kneels on a man's neck for 9 minutes, and you're told to stay calm and peaceful. Protest peacefully? You're not doing enough. Protest loudly? You're doing too much. Riot? See, this is why we can't take you seriously. You get labeled violent just for raising your voice. Meanwhile, white kids burn couches after football games, and it's called school spirit. Even joy gets policed. You laugh too loud, it's a problem. You dress too bright, it's hood. You celebrate your culture, and someone accuses you of reverse racism. You dance, and it's copied. You protest, and it's vilified. You win, and people ask if you had an unfair advantage. You lose, and they say, well, at least you tried. There's no version of you that gets to exist without critique. Therapy? If you can find a therapist who gets you, keep them like they're made of gold. Most don't understand the weight you carry. They say things like, just don't think about race so much. That's like telling a fish not to think about water. They don't see how every part of your identity is politicized. They think your exhaustion is paranoia. They don't get that your trauma isn't a single event, it's a lifetime of micro-cuts. Even in death, you're dehumanized. A black victim's criminal record gets aired like a movie trailer. The media digs up your mugshot while your killer gets a high school graduation photo and a quote about loving dogs. Justice becomes a lottery you rarely win. And when you don't get it, people shrug like equality is a suggestion, not a requirement. And still, people say, it's better now. Better than what? Slavery? Segregation? Being counted as 3/5 of a person? Better doesn't mean good. Better doesn't mean just. You're not asking for perfection. You're asking for air, for safety, for the ability to exist without having to defend your humanity like it's on trial. You get told to be grateful. For what? For surviving? For enduring? You're told that racism is a thing of the past, while it's actively ruining your present. You're told that not all white people are racist, as if that erases the system that benefits them anyway. You carry joy like a rebellion. You laugh loudly because you've earned it. You build communities that thrive in spite of everything. But that doesn't mean it doesn't suck sometimes. It sucks to be seen as a threat when you're just trying to get home. It sucks to have your skin judged before your words are heard. It sucks to always be the first, the only, the exception. It sucks to be black sometimes, not because blackness is broken, but because the world is. And still, you show up, you shine, you survive, you create magic out of pressure. That's not weakness, that's power disguised as pain.
You're born a black girl like you just pulled the golden ticket. Except instead of chocolate, you win double shifts of generational trauma, a lifetime of people touching your hair without permission, and strangers assuming your resting face is a threat assessment. There's no guidebook waiting for you, just a history that's jagged, bloody, and forever brushed aside. You learn early that being a girl doesn't make you soft. It makes you a target. You're 5 when a teacher calls you sassy for asking a question. You're 9 when you get in trouble for attitude, while the white boy next to you throws a chair and gets a pep talk. By middle school, you've already figured out you have to grow up fast because the world won't let you be a child for long. Work? That's a circus with better lighting. You code switch like your salary depends on it, because it does. Speak too casually, you're unprofessional. Speak too firmly, you're intimidating. Show up with braids or an afro, and suddenly it's a statement. Meanwhile, Karen comes in with bedhead and gets called relatable. Black excellence? That's not an aspiration. That's your seatbelt. You can never be average. You have to be extraordinary just to get called normal. You smile wider, speak smoother, stand straighter, because anything less, and suddenly you're hostile, aggressive, or someone's think piece about angry black women. Mess up once? Congrats, you just became a cautionary tale. You spend your life editing yourself, like a museum exhibit curated for mass consumption. You're either not black enough or too black, depending on who's talking. Too polished? You're accused of forgetting where you came from. Too real? You're a problem. Apparently, there's a secret formula for acceptable black womanhood, and no one ever sends you the memo. Then there's your body, the battlefield no one warns you about. You go to the doctor in pain, and they assume you're exaggerating. Your pain threshold is treated like a myth. You give birth, and your concerns get brushed aside, as if black women don't know when something's wrong with their own bodies. Your maternal mortality rates are a crisis, but it's treated like a footnote. You ask for help and get told to tough it out, as if strength is supposed to be your default setting. Your hair gets policed like it's a national threat. Your curves are either hypersexualized or mocked. Fashion brands steal your look, then call it edgy on someone else. You're told to love yourself, but every ad, every casting call, every corporate policy sends the opposite message. You learn to be your own advocate in exam rooms, in boardrooms, in classrooms. You learn to say things twice because people hear your words but not your urgency. You learn that protecting yourself often means explaining your humanity over and over again to people who don't want to listen. Dating? Oh, it's a clown parade. You get the ones who say, I've always wanted to be with a black girl, like you're a limited edition sneaker drop. Or the ones who say, you're not like other black women, which is just racism with bad grammar. My type is strong black women. Translation: you like the fantasy of my strength, not the reality of my exhaustion. Representation on screen? A nightmare and a punchline. You grow up seeing yourself as the sidekick, the tragic victim, or the one who dies before the second act. If a black woman gets to be the lead, critics call it niche or too urban. Apparently, watching white teens fight zombies is universal, but watching you pay rent and live your life is too specific. Police do not protect you, they supervise you. Sirens don't mean safety. They mean slow your breath, keep your hands visible, turn your voice into a lullaby. You rehearse how to stay alive the way some people rehearse for auditions. And even then, you know your politeness isn't a shield. Everyone loves black women until it's time to love black women. They want your slang, your style, your edge, your rhythm. They want your whole vibe, bottled, filtered, and sold on TikTok. But speak up about racism or sexism, and suddenly you're bitter, angry, divisive. Funny how your culture is trendy, but your humanity is too political. Schools feed you the kid-friendly version of Black history. Harriet Tubman, the helper, MLK, the dreamer. Rosa Parks, the tired lady who just wanted to sit. No one mentions redlining, forced sterilizations, or how black women built movements that whitewashed textbooks barely acknowledge. They serve you history like it's a Disney montage, with all the rage and resistance scrubbed out. You can't even count on clean air. Your neighborhood gets the factory fumes, the power plant runoff, the highway noise. You grow up breathing asthma into your lungs and calling it normal. When you complain, they say you're exaggerating. If it happened in a gated community, it'd be a national crisis. You're expected to forgive on demand. A politician says something vile, and people ask you to be gracious. A cop kills someone who looks like your cousin, and you're told to stay calm and polite. Protest peacefully? Too soft. Protest loudly? Too much. React with rage? See, that's the problem with you people. Even your joy gets monitored. Laugh too loud, it's ghetto. Dress too bold, it's unprofessional. Celebrate your culture, and suddenly it's divisive. Dance, and it's copied. Cry, and it's dismissed. Win, and people ask if it was affirmative action. Lose, and they tell you to work harder. Every election year, you suddenly become America's emergency contact. They roll out the red carpet, not for your dignity, but for your vote. Suddenly, the pundits remember your name. The campaigns discover gospel choirs, and everyone's favorite phrase is, "Black women will save us." You're supposed to show up, line up, stand in line for 6 hours with a folding chair and a bottle of water, if the state even lets you keep the water. They call you the backbone of democracy, then cut funding for the neighborhoods where your spine lives. Your polling place closes early, your ballot gets lost, your district gets carved up like it's a Thanksgiving turkey. And when you point it out, they say you're imagining things. You're good enough to be the savior in headlines, never the priority in legislation. You save their elections, they forget your names by January. You're told to vote like your life depends on it, because it actually does. While people who never had to fight for the right to vote lecture you about being civic-minded. You don't want to be a mascot for democracy. You just want a democracy that remembers you exist after the campaign confetti is swept away. Therapy? If you find a black woman therapist who gets you, guard her like the last phone charger at the airport. Most others tell you to stop thinking about race so much. That's like telling the ocean to stop thinking about water. They don't get that your exhaustion isn't paranoia. It's decades of microcuts that never got to heal. Even in death, you get less dignity. The press digs through your past for dirt, but polishes your killer's history until it shines. Justice for you is a lottery, and your ticket's usually a dud. And when you speak about it, people say, it's better now. Better than what? Slavery? Jim Crow? Being invisible in your own story? Better isn't the same as good. It isn't the same as safe. It's not easy being a black woman in America. Not because black womanhood is broken, but because the world still hasn't caught up to your humanity. And still, you rise, you shine, you keep going. That's not survival. That's defiance turned into art. You carry joy like contraband. You laugh as an act of rebellion. You build sisterhood in a world that tries to isolate you. You create beauty in the cracks of a system that was never designed for you. That's not weakness. That's power wearing a tired smile.